Welcome to the Deconstructing Data podcast and live stream. I'm Jessie Lezak, fractional CMO at BDEX, along with David Finkelstein, BDEX's founder and CEO. What's new, David?
Hey, Jesse. Good to see you. It's been a couple of weeks. Good to be back. I don't know. We've got a lot of new things going on, and we're playing with a lot of AI. You know how well data and AI play together. So we've been playing with a lot of AI tools lately, and we'll have some new announcements soon around those. But excited to also get into our conversation today. Why don't you jump in and get us started?
I will, but I have to call you out first, David. You've been doing some vibe coding. Have you heard of the term vibe coding?
Yeah, I have, because
officially a vibe coder.
I know. So it's funny because I used to code years ago, and then ended up getting in the business side of things. But what's cool about vibe coding for me is that it enables me to sort of create that like MVP that I can go to my team and say, this is what we need to build,
Yes.
So, and I've been doing that a lot lately. Hopefully my team isn't getting sick of it, but I'll be sitting on a rainy day on a weekend and be like, okay, let me see. I have an idea. And rather than just telling people my idea, I'm just going to tell Replit to build it for me. And then, there we go. There's some version of it. And then now I can hand it off to the team and say, here, now let's build this for real. So.
Yeah, it's a new day. Can you imagine, like 10 years, someone told us that this would be possible? It's still like mind-boggling. But anyway, today on Deconstructing Data, we're thrilled to welcome on another really exceptional guest. We get to welcome on Brian Minick. He's the Chief Operating Officer at Zero Bounce. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Thank you, Jesse and David, for having me. Excited to be here with everyone today.
Yeah, we're excited to have you here too, Brian. And we would love for you to kick it off for us. Give our viewers and listeners a little background about yourself, and talk to us a little bit about what led you to become Chief Operating Officer over at Zero Bounce.
Yeah, sure. So hi, everyone. I'm Brian Minick, the Chief Operating Officer at Zero Bounce. My career started in my early days as a vibe coder, although that term wasn't there at that time. About 12 years old, messing around on the laptop. Oh, no laptops either. Messing around with the desktop on a grounded weekend from my parents, and just started messing around and really started to dial in that I loved software and really loved to understand how software worked. And so I started my career there and started to move into some other companies as I got older and into my career building websites, building software applications. And I hit a moment in time where I actually became the face of a tech company. And what that really started to dial in was like, wow, I actually really love the people. And I like being involved with customers, and I like being involved with people and talking to them and hearing and solutioning around it. And then that shifted me into more of operations. And at Zero Bounce here, I've been with the company a little over 6 years now. We've helped grow it from 7 employees to just over 100 in the last 6 or 7 years now. And my job there is to really navigate our systems, navigate our support process, and really fine tune and dial everything in. And for anyone who's not aware, Zero Bounce, we're an email validation platform. We help customers that have an email marketing list, database, sales prospecting, whatever it is. We clean up that data and remove a lot of the bad contacts, risky contacts, and help you all around with deliverability. So anything from DMARC, blacklist monitoring, inbox testing, email validation, all that good stuff. So it's been a great journey, and we have a lot more to do.
That's awesome. Love the journey story, Brian. I had a similar journey. I started out coding as a kid, and just it's led to where we are today, which is crazy. That anybody can code right now. You don't have to be a coder to code, and that's kind of the crazy thing. Is all you need to do is be able to explain what you want to build, and you can build it. And I think AI has changed a lot of things. And one of the things that we're going to talk about today is how AI is changing sales, right?
Yep.
So jumping into our first topic, I'd love for you to kick us off a little bit about this. Talk to us about this new era of AI sales and how we're able to improve outbound automation strategies with AI.
Yeah. So I think everyone has their own take on AI. That's for starters. And mine is that AI is a great, it's a help, it's a guide. It's not a replacement of people to me. It is a replacement of guesswork. That is really one of the best ways that I kind of describe this. It helps get proof of concepts up quickly. It helps, do lots of different things. But and I already see some great questions, so I'm going to attempt here to talk and maybe answer questions as I get through it. But how we're using AI to help our sales team is in a lot of different ways. Number one, it is so important to understand your customers, and the way to do that is very hard through just analyzing data, right? So just sifting, put in a spreadsheet. Oh, when's the last time they purchased? Everything's outdated by the time you actually get there. And so what we're starting to do is have AI help us analyze that data in real time, create segments in real time, and shift and move these people into different parts, different buckets, different marketing cycles that really allows us to target. And I think that's what's so important is the targeting is game changing, right? So instead of just the spray and pray, it's now super targeted, hyper focused, and you're serving up leads or potential prospecting, however you guys want to do it, or whatever parts you have, but you're identifying them at the right time. And I think that is important as well. So it's not just time zone, right? It's maybe they just hit your website and then something else happened, and now you're triggering out an email that's going to them directly, and it's so personalized that people are like, wow, this is nuts. So I do think there's some in between where AI can get a little scary, where it can get almost too personal. But I think the leverage where people can really utilize it in sales is serving things to the right people at the right time. So focusing more on the quality of when and who to talk to rather than the quantity, and just seeing what starts to kind of fall through the buckets here. That's how I see a lot of it at the moment.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think that AI is enabling us to focus on the quality more, which is, something that we've been pushing for years. Is like, there's always been lots of tools for you to add, quality levels, add more data enrichment, however you want to talk about it. But the ability now to leverage AI to leverage all of those tools in more real time, so that you can really focus on the quality is a huge change, and it's a huge advancement in this space.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And real quick, I just want to address some of the questions coming in from the audience. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to read a couple of them real quick. We've got AP here. He's really following along. So how is AI changing sales? That's a really broad one. But then, the second one, how are you using AI to skill build among your salespeople? And then finally, I think it's one of the questions I think people need to be asking. Let's see. I guess in this one, there's not an actual question, but that is a good comment, Andrew. But I'll leave you with that one, Brian, in terms of AI and building your sales team and building sales in general.
Yeah. So I think such a strong component of AI that you can give to your sales team is helping them navigate sales objections, being able to kind of, sales training is hard. I think sales training has to be natural. One of the things that I've done, so I built the sales team at Zero Bounce and really evolved them from cutthroat salespeople to a team-based, goal-driven, we all help each other out and we all lift up the tide, right, in some sort of way. And unfortunately, I wish I had AI back then to really help kind of solidify some of that. But there's so many different questions. There's so many different ways that I think teams can use AI to provide better answers or better objection to help get to their goal. So it's a tool. It's not a replacement. You can't just put it in place of it. I also have done this with our support team. So it's not, not just sales. This can be applied to any team, certainly marketing. I think we all know that. But on a support team as well, we have our own AI chatbot that only our support team has access to, because at the end of the day, it is impossible to info share all of the new updates that are happening on our platform, all of the different features, all the integrations. How does this work? And so they're able to use it as a tool to increase their knowledge in real time by simply prompting. And that to me is all very powerful. I think there's so many cases on the sales side. So I don't just see it as writing content, right? I think that is a very common thing that everyone's thinking. It's like, write me an email sequence that's going to help grow the company, right? Whatever. I don't see it as that. I think it's more like, hey, I have a company that's specific in the healthcare industry. They're collecting a lot of email addresses. Based on that, what are some challenges that they might have that I might want to ask questions around? These are types of things that I think are much more valuable for sales teams to have access to. And again, they have to ask those questions. So I see some stuff like that is very powerful, and it's really enabled our team to front load a ton of research. So how much research does it take to go learn about a company? How long does that take people? I don't know. Everyone's going to be different here, but it's going to take me at least 5 to 10 minutes to do something decent on the research side. Whereas it could take me just a few, chat messages to really get a good idea of where their challenges might arise, so I can ask questions around it and start to steer the conversation, or highlight challenges that they might not even be aware of that you can solve for.
Yeah, I like that, and it's funny because you brought up something that I've been wanting to do internally. Like, we have our own internal wiki, which is where basically, it tracks all of the changes in our platform, so that, it's really just so that engineering can track everything and everybody else can see what's been changed and, new features and all of that. But it's literally been on my to-do list. Like, that needs to get ingested into AI so that we no longer have to look for anything. The team can just, have a conversation with the AI and know all of the features and any feature updates and changes and, when they're going to happen and all of that stuff. So, and that's such an important little detail, right? Just to make it that much easier for support to have answers at their fingertips.
Yep. But I still believe, really, we've seen it. I'm sure you've experienced it too, Dave. It's hallucinating at times, right? It's providing answers that it shouldn't have. I firmly believe we're still very far away from not having any human element check in there. So, it's a tool for our team to ask questions quickly, but they still need to, they should verify or vet it. But for the most part, it helps. It might answer that specific detailed question. Whereas maybe the only other way to go do that is go set up that, integration quickly and go test that question. How long does that take versus maybe a more, suitable answer coming from AI?
Yeah, great point. Well, I think it's time to transition into the next topic. Talk a little bit more about data. I mean, it is deconstructing data, and we've talked a lot about quality over quantity. But let's talk about data-driven marketing from your perspective, Brian, and unlocking customer intelligence.
Customer intelligence. My goodness. So this, to me, is one of the most important topics and should be how you base decisions. So in my opinion and my experience, the best email marketers are not guessing, they're using data. Okay. And the way that you can use data is you have to, number one, make sure you're collecting the right data points and make sure that they're going into the right systems to try to give you some sort of 360 view on them, which, by the way, is very challenging. I'm not ignorant to that. But intelligence is really going to be your differentiator. So when you have a full 360 of what's going on from the customer, from the first time they saw you, and then to the third time that they've attended your webinar and then created an account, but then clicked an ad and then saw a review online and then picked up the phone and called your company, how fast can you get all that information into the person who picked up the phone? And so for us, we're leveraging, HubSpot for the CRM to do all of that. But you have to feed all those data points into it, or it doesn't really know. It never will really get the full picture without it. So to me, it's so important to connect all of the different sources and put them in one place that everyone has access to quickly. Again, super challenging and very hard to pull off. And I wouldn't even say we're perfect there, but I can just tell you it makes a difference. But only makes a difference when people use it. That's the other challenge. So I've experienced both sides where you build everything and then people don't use it. And there's almost nothing more frustrating than that, at least as a leader and an operational leader. But when you use it, you train them, you show them, and then they're able to do stuff with it and make the entire to me, it's also about the experience of the customer, right? So do you pick up the phone for somebody that's maybe your second best customer, made a purchase yesterday and now has a problem? Do you pick up that phone call and address it the same way who's a prospect that doesn't know only heard of you and doesn't know what's going on? How do you know that quickly? Getting intelligence to that quickly is very important. And it just gives you the ability to really navigate how to handle these people. And so it just goes back to the quality, right? So it's like walking into the coffee shop and that barista has made your coffee every single day for a year. That's how I envision our systems, right? I want the system to know if this is the person that's walked into the coffee shop every year and everyone knows their name, they know their drink. You don't do anything. They just pay their bill, right? I think we've all experienced that or seen that with a friend, family, spouse, whatever. So that's things that I look at when it's coming to, unlocking customer intelligence. It's challenging. It's very challenging. And there's so much going on with the privacy side, making it even harder, by the way. So is it ever going to be perfect? No. And I definitely think it's actually becoming even more challenging to get these 360 views. But, being able to segment, I'm in email marketing. We do a lot of stuff. We're working with tons of email marketers. Segmentation and personalization go hand in hand. I don't think they're independent. They're required to be hand in hand. So if you're going to segment all your purchasers and your frequent purchasers, that personalization is very different than someone who's not doing it, or is a non-buyer yet, or is just in the funnel. So that's how I see a lot of it, is really getting as much as you can, get as much intelligence on these people as you can, and allow it and bring this to surface to the best abilities and get it to a place that's usable for people. It's really powerful.
Yeah, very powerful. The question is, again, like you said, the privacy becomes sort of a factor that gets in the way of achieving the ultimate goal, right? But where would you say that we're going? I mean, is it getting easier? Is AI? I mean, AI is obviously making it easier. Do you think that the hurdles, like the privacy hurdles and tracking and things like that, will continue to sort of get in the way of that? Or do you think that the advancements in AI and real-time accessibility of data will sort of overrule that and make it, more accessible? Because I think that the challenge is exactly what you described, is what, everybody might be trying to get to. But I think that, the bigger the business you are, the easier that is. So like for these smaller marketing agencies, that's, or these smaller, businesses, it's going to be harder for them to get to sort of that holy grail. But will the tools enable them to get closer and closer, I think, to that? What are your thoughts on that?
I think so. And this is a challenge we deal with today, by the way. So, and I think all businesses are doing this and are challenged with this. And yeah, it used to be, if it felt like maybe, and feel free, back me up here, or, challenge the numbers that I'm seeing here, but it's anywhere from 70 to 80% is trackable to some level. That's where it felt like a couple years ago. And that number is dwindling down. I'm seeing it more in the 60 to 80% range now. Right. Yeah. And so what we tried in the beginning, and I love talking about failures, by the way, so I'm going to talk about one here. What we tried in the beginning was, optimize that last 20, 30, 40% that is, just shows as maybe direct traffic, right? Or unknown traffic. And we spent so much time trying to dial in something that was never going to get dialed in. It just wasn't, right? And then you ask yourself the question, what am I doing? And is this actually making a difference? And what we did was we started to invert it. It was like, okay, what are our goals? What are the outcomes that we're looking to do? And we started to change and think about everything as outcome driven. So if we knew we're looking for more customers, new paying customers, great. Let's focus on that number and start to ignore the traffic sources. Start to ignore, we're still tracking the best of our ability, but it's not leaning into all of the decisions. We're starting to look at different stuff. So that's how we started to do it, was to instead of fighting against it, meaning you're going to try to put a new tracking source on, which, by the way, some of them do work. I'm not arguing that. And you can squeeze more out of that. but other things come into play too, such as site speed, such as other stuff where it might come into play. We just started to reverse it. And we just said, you know what? What's our goals? And our goals are new customers, retention. Let's lower churn rates. Let's do all of this type of stuff. And that's how we're leveraging a lot of this, privacy side. And it's challenging, but ultimately, I think this depends upon your business. We're a SaaS-based company, so people sign up and we have registered users. That makes things a lot easier, of course. But our goal is to get them to create an account. Once we have an account, the privacy side goes away in a sense, right? Like we know if they logged in, we know if they used the service or when they used it, how they used it. And we're just using that side to really do the personalization and segmentation. But yeah, I think AI is going to help. I think it's going to help summarize quicker. And that's the killer. I mean, I remember it's like weekly marketing reports of how many new leads and where they came from. And it's like someone asks a good question and the whole report is toast. Like, and then at the end of the day, it was like, what are we actually talking about? What are the outcomes we're looking for? And let's start to focus on that. So I highly encourage as privacy, this is happening in mail too, right? With email marketing, there's more and more privacy going on to it. You don't know when people are open rates are a thing of the past. No one's talking about them anymore. They provide no value. So, okay, what's the real outcomes? Maybe it's revenue. Maybe it's how many people signed up as a result of that email blast. So, I'm starting to encourage people, and we're doing it heavily, is to think past just the tracking component. Because at the end of the day, the outcome is what matters, not so much that you caught that event. That's how I see it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, look, we help with our identity graph. We help do a lot of tracking, website visitors, things like that. And there's always going to be a percentage of those people that you're not going to identify. So concentrating on those that you can identify and improving the processes behind those that you can identify is absolutely, that's the gold mine, right? I mean, that's your, that's your bread and butter. It still intrigues me to sort of think about, okay, there's a certain that percentage of people that we can't identify. I'm always like trying to figure out like what tools can I use to sort of make that more valuable, and I think that when I figure it out, my team will build it and we'll have a product there for you. But
Nice.
More vibe coding.
Yeah, more vibe coding behind that. Yep. But I think for now, like you said, that's what we need to do is and we're upfront with that with everybody that we talk to. There's a certain percentage of people that we will be able to identify that come to your website, and then we will be able to enhance that. And then, and then there's a ton you can do with that to build that into your funnel. But everything else, you just have to accept that it's never going to be 100%.
Yeah. And David, on that, so just in my opinion, and some like thought for everybody listening, yes, it's great to be able to identify it. And I think that's really powerful, by the way, when you can say, I don't want to name any brands here, but brand X is on my website and they never kind of created that next step. What I'm also encouraging is like, that's awesome to know, but figure out why they didn't go the next step, right? So like, why are we stuck on just that point? Let's also try it. Now, what's powerful is knowing that because this happens to us too, Dave. I don't know how you see it and some of the people that you're working with, but we have people, because of our software, and we've made it so simple to create accounts, right? Create an account with Google, all these like very simple ways that it can disassociate from the actual user in a personal to business way. So they sign up with a Gmail account because we made it so easy, but they're a business domain. And now I lost that component where tools like yours could be so powerful to connect that dot for you.
Yep.
And that's where, but I really just encourage people to like, how do you get past the point of just identifying to hit the site, like get them to do something? And it's the same thing with email marketing. It's all about engagement. And so if you get them to the site, there has to be something good, like a takeaway, an offer, like a free offer, a free trial, and something. Get them to take an action and not just view the website.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I'm glad you said that.
I think you could apply that to what you were saying earlier so brilliantly about email too, is like, you're saying, what is your goal with it? What is the outcome? And are we accomplishing that? But it's the same thing. Like, we could take it a step back before even looking at that and just say, did they reply? That could be one thing that we look at.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a fan of taking all tracking out of email. I thought, and I think what you said there was really important for people, because for marketers, it's really hard to explain that open rates don't matter anymore. And that, just looking at the pretty images in the email, yes, it's great, but it's also something that could hurt your deliverability. So staying focused on text only could be advantageous for you if you have a new domain that doesn't have reputation. So I think like having leaders talk about this sort of stuff, whether it's email or on your website, is really important, because for marketers like us, this is a hard conversation to have with people who have no idea. And real quick, we still have a couple more questions.
Sure.
So from the audience on YouTube, we're getting earlier when we were talking about AI tools. Our question came up about other data tools either of you are leveraging for your sales teams.
Data tools. Sure. On our side, we're using HubSpot. I wouldn't call it necessarily a tool, but or leverage a data tool, but we're using HubSpot. We use Lemlist to try to do some kind of automation on outbounds. N8N, another powerful tool. Zapier, another powerful tool. A lot of people are using like ChatGPT to help us, obviously, with like we were talking about, kind of prompting, but we don't do too much. I've also found that if you can get like Hydra locked in tools, where it's just people are they don't, and then they don't know where to go. And then it's, did you do that step? So we don't overdo it. What I actually really am proud of that we've done is we've also let individual team members start to do what they want, because it adds that layer of comfort and it adds that layer of natural part, right? So to me, sales is so important that it's natural. It cannot be scripted. It cannot be forced. Whenever I get on a sales call as a buyer, because I buy a lot of software too, and I just know, like, they're just running me through the script. I'm sorry if you're the one here doing that, there's nothing worse as a buyer to get this feeling, because I know you have not actually asked, like, you're not asking me the questions about what are my problems, what I'm trying to, you just right into the script.
Yeah.
And so everybody's different. Every sales rep is different. Everybody in sales has some different, and I've played that as a strength, by the way. Some people might say, oh, that's not good. You have a variance in your sales team. Well, sure. But I also have people doing things naturally, the way they feel comfortable doing it, which leads to natural conversations and increased sales. So I think that's super powerful. I know that's not a tech, but I think that's a human element that's very important with sales.
Yeah, definitely.
There's nothing worse than talking to somebody on the phone and you can tell they're reading something.
Oh,
it's awful.
That's so awful.
It's awful.
I think there's a book called like The Introverted Seller or something like that. I don't know the exact title of it. But I always thought that was interesting.
Introvert edge, I think it is.
Is that what it is? Yeah, because people think of salespeople as extroverted, but not all good salespeople are extroverted. Some good salespeople are introverted, and everyone uses their own uniqueness to their own competitive advantage. But anyway, I want to make sure we still get to all of our topics, and we've got people gasping in the comments that open rates don't matter, so it's kind of funny. But then what about like David, I was going to ask you too, the same question in terms of like data tools. So like, obviously we have our own data tool and Kool-Aid and seeing website visitors.
Yeah. We eat a lot of our own dog food, right? So, use our own tools, which is helpful. And so that's the biggest one for us. I mean, we used to be on HubSpot, we're on High Level now, but I say, when you're talking about data tools, it's really our own. That's as far as data is concerned.
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff. All right. So let's get into our third topic, which is scaling growth, data and automation for all. There was another question I didn't get to about agentic AI. So I don't know if in automation or any of this final topic, any of you have anything to say about agentic. I'm not as familiar with agentic, and that's really the question, is how are you using it? But in terms of scaling growth, data and automation for all, could you kick us off here, Brian?
Yeah, absolutely. So scale. This is something I'm very, very, very passionate about and have thankfully a lot of experience on. I've scaled 2 businesses up pretty well. And the ability to do that has come through automation. It has really come through automation. I have this saying, anybody that's worked for me long enough and worked with me sorry, I hate saying the word work for me, work with me long enough knows that if we have to do it twice, we have to automate it. And that's it. So if it's a one-off, it's a one-off. That's fine. But if we have to do something twice, we have to figure out how to automate that. And every business is going to be a little bit different, but we're dealing with close to anywhere from 500 to 700 signups on our platform per day, right? That is impossible to do without automation. That is impossible to do without the right data. And every single thing that's happening is flowing and it's moving because of all of that. And so it has to come with repeatable systems. It has to be able to, all your systems have to talk. These are a lot of challenges, but what's important, and one of the things I've experienced in my career as both, again, coming back from my roots as a software developer and also, where I am now in operations, is that it's important to really, when you're evaluating tools, that things talk to each other and connect. And if you can't do it natively, which you should seek those type of systems that could do it natively if they're critical. But if they cannot, really seek to get some help in making those systems talk. So the data of it is so important. And I'll give real examples here. So in Zero Bounce, again, we're an email validation tool. We help people with their deliverability. As soon as you sign up on our website, our backend system is scanning all these different things about the domain you use to sign up on our website to highlight for you areas of opportunity in our platform. So for example, if you sign up with your account and you have no DMARC set up on your domain, we're going to highlight that for you. We should highlight that for you. We offer DMARC, but we're doing it in a way that makes sense for people. And we're doing a lot right now that's in the works. It's all cooking. But we're going to start doing a lot more things there to kind of showcase areas of opportunity in how your domain and data is structured. So what does that actually mean, right? So we're breaking this down and we're doing this behind the scenes. And then we take that information, we move it into HubSpot. And then based on that and based on other actions, we can now trigger workflows, we trigger sequences, and all of it now feels like I'm talking to you because it's so relevant to you. And that is a key. That is a pro tip that will change the game. When people feel like you are talking to them through your email marketing, your messaging, your advertising, whatever it is, really talking to them, not touching, putting your hand on their shoulder. I mean, scratching the itch that they have on their back and really knowing that you got it. Those type of things is what I think about it like, how do you create I don't want to curse, the holy crap moment, right? Like how do you create that moment? And especially in software and online sales, the only way to do it is to really know who you're talking to. And if you don't have that face-to-face conversations happening or verbal conversations, then get as much information as you can. So we're doing things like that and then triggering all these different sequences, all of these different workflows. And we're calling people at the right time. Maybe they just uploaded a big list and it had a lot of bad data on it. Well, they probably need some help with their email marketing. Why did they get such a bad list? That's a very different message than someone who just uploaded a great list and their DMARC shows everything was great. You can't send the same message to these people. So this to me is really where you can scale. And you have to scale with automation and you have to scale with systems talking to systems. And then the bigger challenge, which I'm facing right now, is the communication in the people. That's the next one on scale, but that's not data. That's not automation. That's people. And I haven't perfected that one yet. So if you guys have any good tips, I'd love to hear them.
Yeah, for sure. Scaling on automations is a lot easier than scaling people.
Yes. Yeah. And we've almost doubled in size in the last 2 years. And so I love it and hate it. I love it because it's great to see the company and all the growth and, new people, new fresh ideas. It's refreshing. I love it. I hate it because I don't know everyone's name and what they do anymore. And, that's the part where I'm like, wow, this is great. But that means we need to communicate more.
Yeah.
Yes. That's definitely come up on this show before, with data and all of our talk on data and AI and technology, that people tend to be the more complicated, complex topic to address.
Yeah. But I love the holy crap moment. I mean, that's a really good point. I mean, anything you can do, what are you trying to do? You're trying to impress the customer, right? So anything you can do to show them that you really know what you're doing and that working with you is going to be easy.
Yep.
That's your holy crap moment right there.
Yep.
Yep.
Create
Would love
it.
to hear from the audience. What is everyone watching? What's your holy crap moment? I see there's 11 of you on YouTube and about the same on LinkedIn. Would love to hear some more holy crap moments.
Yeah, that would be a really good thread to run, through the comments, post this podcast, and just have people share your holy crap moment. Whether it's one that you built or whether it's one you experienced. Either way, there's so much to learn there. Just hearing about other people's holy crap moment that they've experienced.
And I feel like I need to coin this one.
I love it. Yeah.
That was good. All right. Well, before we run out of time, we have to make sure we ask you what your favorite tools in your tech stack are, Brian.
Favorite tools in our tech stack. My gosh. So I'm going to leave out the tech side of things because that's our tech team. And thankfully they're way smarter than me at tech at this point. But I have to say I am utterly impressed with HubSpot. I really have to say that. I have been experienced with a lot of different CRMs, and just the power of what they're able to do and how flexible they are with absolutely everything, and being able to connect all those different data sources. And for people listening, as I saw questions here about like, how do you get all the systems to connect, or how important it is that they connect. I couldn't agree more, but I've tried the other tools that have that one feature that really is better than the rest, but it's missing all of these different ways to connect the data. That's a mistake that I think I've made in the past, where it went down those type of paths and moved forward with those type of softwares, where ultimately it's so powerful to have everything communicate. I mean, just look at, for example, like Shopify and Klaviyo, right? Those two tools running together, the ability to do things as a result of what's happening on your shopping carts versus what's going on email marketing. It's so powerful. So to me, HubSpot has become our kind of centralized point for everything, and everything feeds into it. But I'll tell you, I'm very impressed with what's going on, not just at Zapier with what they're doing. They have a lot of AI stuff and a lot of agent stuff going on, but also with N8N. I think it's insane. Clay, another insane tool, especially for salespeople that are out there. They're very powerful, and I highly recommend people check those ones out as well.
Definitely some good plugs. Yeah. Well, before we go, would you like to let listeners know how they could reach you after the show if they wanted to contact you, Brian?
Yeah, absolutely. So readily available. I love talking to people about deliverability. So if you have email marketing challenges, or you have any of those type of questions, I am the best and worst salesperson in the world, because I don't want to sell you anything. I actually just want to give you value. And so I'm big on trust. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn, Brian Minick. There's 2 of them, by the way, which I found out recently as I was trying to do these type of how you can find me. There's a security officer who I friend requested, and he didn't accept my friend request, and I was highly offended. And then there's me. So please come find me on LinkedIn. I think it's /Brian Minick, Brian-Minick, but you'll find me, the big bald guy. And you can find me there, or you come on Zero Bounce, and feel free to always ask for me. I'm available. That's how I like to keep it.
Awesome, Brian. Well, we really appreciate you joining us on the show. Next time I'm in Boca, I'll hit you up and we can grab some coffee.
Please do.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's about it. I'll let Jesse close us out.
And that I will do. So let me pull up a QR code here. If you haven't watched this before, I put the QR code up on the screen. But if you're on podcast, you just go to beatx.com and click on the Talk to an Expert button, and you'll see where I'm sending everyone here on screen. But we want to invite you to get powered by BeatX. So BeatX's comprehensive identity graph, it enables you to build your audiences that are going to reach the real people, and then turn those anonymous website visitors into real actionable customer insights. So it's eliminating bots, fraudulent data, bad data that are wasting marketing's money. So whether you're struggling with your cart abandonment, it could be just poor targeting, like declining performance. This is something you want to check out, because we're delivering the most accurate identity resolution and customer audiences in the industry. And it's measuring ROI. It's a measurable ROI. So you're going to want to check it out. Just go to beatx.com if you're listening on podcast. Otherwise, you can scan that QR code, click on talk to an expert, and we would love to help you out. And other than that, we will see you back here again next week for another great episode of Deconstructing Data. Thanks again, Brian, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, David, for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.